Welcome on aboard the History 1301. This is Professor Tatum. Here, I'd like you to get to know me a little bit, and I'd like to take the opportunity to get to know you a little bit as well, and give you a general idea of what to expect in our class. All right, what brings me here to this class? I have a bachelor's and a master's both in history, both attained at TAMU CC, so I am a former Islander, just like you guys. I've been through the courses at TAMU CC. I know what it takes to succeed here. I'm glad to help you any way that I can along the way. I also served for quite some time as a supplemental instruction leader and a tutor at our Center for Academic Student Achievement, which is quite a mouthful, so we just call it CASA. Worked there from 2017 to 2022. Also worked for a while as an SI leader over at Del Mar, also for history, 2019 to 2022. Was also an academic advisor for about a year at TAMU CC. Learned a lot about the campus, how different things work, different types of resources that are helpful for students, and a lot more as an academic advisor. And then most recently, of course, I've been working as an adjunct professor, really loving it. I did work teaching both halves of a university seminar until recently. There have been some changes to that. I'll leave that at that. And I can give them a soapbox there. But I'm still teaching both halves of the U.S. History Survey as well. All right, my approach toward teaching. I am firm but reasonable. I try to utilize different forms of learning, try to use different types of images, videos, readings, writing, etc. to try to cater to different types of learning styles, all right? And that way you're getting an opportunity to not only demonstrate your strengths, but also exercise your lower strengths a little bit. My teaching philosophy here is that I care about you. I genuinely do, okay? I always make a point to share with my classes that I am an adjunct and explain what that means. Now, some nincompoop, Ray, my professor, has gone on saying that I cry to my students about being an adjunct and say, oh, poor me, I could get fired at any moment. I don't recall ever crying for a class, and if I did, I hope somebody got a video of it because that's probably hilarious. But regardless, only time I ever say that, it's kind of ironic because they go on to say, who gives up? Well, that's the whole point. The reason I share that I am an adjunct is because that means I have a lot on the line, okay? I'm doing the same amount of work, largely to other professors, minus the research aspect, which I had to find my own time to do. But I'm getting paid beans, okay? On top of that, my position is very unstable. The university could just say next semester, oh, sorry, we can't afford to have you around anymore. Thanks for your service. Bye. Reason I even get into any of this, though, is to demonstrate that I have a lot on the line to be here, okay? The reason I am here is because this is where I want to be, and this is what I want to be doing, all right? Because I genuinely care about you guys and your success, all right? And I love being able to work with students, share what I know, learn from students, and go through that whole process and experience. That being said, I cannot care more than you. You got to be more invested in this thing than me. And if I see that you care and you're doing your work, you're keeping up with things, you're asking me questions as you can, you're staying in touch, you're following through, I will do everything I can on my end to help you along. But if you come to me and say, oh, so I haven't been able to do anything for the past 2 weeks, and I think maybe we have a test tomorrow, but I don't know what to study. I'm only going to be able to be so helpful, man, being honest. Right? I'll do what I can, but it ain't going to be nearly as much as if you show me that you truly care and you've been keeping up with it, okay, doing what you can. That's not to say I expect you just because you care to do perfect, but I need to see that you're at least putting in that effort on your part for me to be able to give a good amount back to you, okay? My approach toward history, I like to embrace the complexity of history. Now, that doesn't mean I like getting carried away in every little trivial detail. You'll see in the next lecture that that's quite the opposite of what I like to do. What I mean here is I like to look beyond the black and white, the good and bad, point A and point B, and recognize that history is something very nuanced, very complex, beyond the grasp of what we commonly simplify it to, okay? You'll recognize throughout this course that there are several trends that people begin to accept as facts, all right? There's certain things we'll say over and over, or they get presented to us in a historical narrative in a certain way, And because so many people say it over and over, we begin to accept it as fact, when really we can recognize by going back and examining the sources, perhaps from a different angle, from a different perspective, or just taking the time to actually read the damn things, that maybe we've oversimplified things quite a bit. All right. There's a lot more to appreciate there. And I just love to embrace that. Now, there's different aspects of studying history. Okay. There are social historians who look at the experiences of common people. There's military historians. There are economic historians, all right. And I consider myself to be a political historian, but in a very kind of untraditional way, all right. Not probably the way most people think of when they hear that term, political historian. I do look sometimes at things like presidents, elections, senators, all that crap. But I'm more interested in a much broader scope of the word politics. All right. When I think of politics, I approach politics through the lens of a definition provided by a historian named Stephen Hahn, who explains politics as collective struggles for what might be termed socially meaningful power. All right. And that last word there is key. To get contests for power, seeing kind of who's in power, who's trying to get that power, who is being subordinated. Now, what kind of power do they have, right? And I definitely love to examine, when possible, elements of what's called subaltern power. Now, I realize that can be kind of an intimidating term. It's really not that complicated. All it really means is kind of the power of the underdogs, all right? Power exercised by seemingly marginalized people. Put very simply, it's recognizing where people who at first glance appear to be powerless do have some form of power. That's what I'm looking for usually when I'm looking at history, all right? And my study of history does have quite a bit of overlap as well, though, with social history, because by emphasizing subaltern power and the subaltern experience and looking at who's being dispossessed, I frequently do focus in on common people and their experiences throughout history, all right? All right, so that's me as an academic, as a professional, as a historian. But one thing I always try to make very clear to my students is your professors at the end of the day, though some of them may act like they don't stink and that they were born scholars, we're all just people, okay? And we all have friends, families, hobbies, relationships, all that good stuff that you guys have, all right, that we're keeping up with as we're running these classes. Please keep that in mind as we try to do for you. Here's a little bit about me as a human being, all right, beyond just my professional academic life. I do have some hobbies, okay? I do enjoy photography. I have an Instagram page here. Students are welcome to follow. Please check it out, Chaotic Zen 361. I'm also the lead singer of a punk rock band here in town, Broken Bottles. We do have a demo, I guess you could say, available on YouTube. If you look up Broken Bottles, Why We Can't Have Nice Things, that's me on the pipes there. And I do also like to cook, and occasionally I make some wine. It's been a good minute. I probably need to get on some. I think the last batch I had, I'd started at the beginning of last semester, drank over spring break, good times at the pool. I'm about ready for another batch here. I'm also married, married to a beautiful Islander alumna named Kimberly. Now teaches first grade and taught kindergarten for several years. And we had all kinds of close encounters, all right? We went to school together at TAMU CC. We even worked together in the same building. We knew a few people in common, yet we never knew each other until way later when we were both in our master's programs. So let this be a lesson to all of you guys. Always show up your best and always be respectful to the people around you, because you never know who they might be to you someday. And my Lord, do I love pets, all right? If you ever meet with me for office hours, please show me pictures of your pets. Talk to me about them. I'm always down to talk pets. I have this little Siamese girl here. That's Chloe, Siobhan, Shadow, Boato, Macadamia Nut, McNamara Tatum. And then we got this little monster here. He is a crazy one. He's grown quite a bit since then, but he's still nuts as can be. That's Bartleby, Bologna, Bolognese, Oliver Oil Tatum. And then my wife's dog. That's a Maester Grayster, Macy Grace, Gadberry Tatum. Some kind of terrier makes me think she's a sweet little mutt. So that's Shadow, Oliver, and Macy in short terms. All right, so that's me. Now I'd like to get to know you guys a little bit. So for your first lecture activity, you're going to access the lecture activity right after this lecture and share this information here with me. Okay, I'll need your full name, first and last, as well as your preferred name if it's different than your given name. Also give me your major, the number of hours you're enrolled in this semester, Also, let me know if you're working this semester, and if so, how many hours per week. Generally, I know sometimes that might fluctuate, but more or less, how many hours per week do you usually work? And if there's anything else you'd like me to know about you, okay? That could be something as simple as a fun fact, hobby, etc. Or this could be letting me know if perhaps you have some kind of accommodations through disability services, or if you're seeking some kind of accommodations and you're not sure where to turn, etc. Anything you need me to know here, here's a great place you can do so. All right, so go ahead, take time to knock out this lecture activity and move on to the next step in the module when you're ready. That's it for here.
Boom, we did it, we did it, we did it. Don't give me a cutout, just keep that like it is, it's fucking fine.